And now, our feature presentation.
Welcome. Open your mind, your body, and your soul. Immerse yourself as you drift deeper into the sound.
Why don't they just speak English?
Mathematics is the only truly universal language, Senator. Buried within the message itself is the key to decoding it.
T-3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
The changes, we're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. I mean, I think you'll see more telework. You'll see probably the acceleration of automation. All of that was in the process of happening, but you're going to see much more of it. And I guess that for me, the main takeaway from all of this is that even after the unemployment rate goes down and the economy is, and there's a vaccine, there's going to be probably a substantial group of workers who are going to need support as they find their way in the post-pandemic economy, because it's going to be different in some fundamental ways.
You can hear? I am okay to go.
You can hear me? 80%. All vibration and G levels are in the green.
3 years ago, Bitcoin's historic surge dominated Thanksgiving dinner conversations. This year, the cryptocurrency is in the midst of another notable rally, and yet almost no one's talking about it. And of course, we're paying attention, but the everyday individual is not. And I think it's very simple, because when they look at the price, it's still below all-time high. Essentially, where we are right now is like Bitcoin at $1,000 in 2017. Someone was to look at this investment, they might not even know it sunk as low as it did. The everyday person looks at the price of Bitcoin, they're going to be like, well, I'm glad I didn't buy that at 20 grand because I'd be down $4,000. They have no clue what's been going on. But just wait until that price passes 20,000 and does so by a country mile. Man, it's going to be crazy, probably more crazy than it was in the past.
Still high. Steve, we're approaching our board limits.
Go for launch.
Okay, go.
Just, I want to preface this video just essentially saying I am more bullish than 99% of people. I do not do YouTube videos for fun because I kind of believe in XRP. I'm all in, and I believe in this asset class as a whole. Crypto assets are part of blockchain and DLT, and they will swallow all other asset classes. Also launching crypto custody services. This is simply the future. If you've watched my videos for the past 2 years, 3 years, highly recommend just going back and then looking at how far we've come. You cannot look at the current price and say, oh, maybe I'm wrong. stick to the fundamentals. Now, I'm playing the long game in this asset class. I didn't come here for 100% return or 200% return. I can do that in the stock market. I am here for thousands of percent. And this is not hype, because I literally understand what is at play here, and I think many of you do too. So let's get right into it.
To be bullish today, okay? One of them is the fact that the market cap of the entire crypto space is sitting at $496 billion, almost $500 billion. And if you know where the top is at, you know that we're close to passing that, okay? 800, almost 900 billion, it's not that far off.
Okay to go. Okay to go. Okay to go.
And the SEC came out 2.5 years ago and said Bitcoin's not a security. And then about 2 months later, they said Ether's not a security, and they kind of stopped. And what that means is, hey, there isn't clarity. And at some point, after a period of time, when there is clarity in the UK, there is clarity in Japan, there is clarity in these other countries. I just want certainty and clarity so that we can build a business. And it has hurt our ability to sign up customers when you have a US regulator that has not been specific on this point. In fact, the US has had different answers from different parts of the government. We of course have relied upon what we've heard from the DOJ, and that when they say, hey, they view XRP as a virtual currency, we of course behave that way. But the SEC has not yet said what they think, and we certainly want them to provide that clarity, because it helps the whole. It doesn't just help Ripple; it helps everybody in the XRP market. And by the way, I think it helps everybody in crypto.
Okay to go. Okay to go. Okay to go.
Initiate drop sequence. On my mark. 10, 9. Now we try this. 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We can see by the charts here, obviously, Bitcoin has been going on quite a run. XRP also battling 30 cents right now, which is huge.
Control, do you read me? I'm in control, do you read me?
I think it's really important to look at this bill as essentially it just creates the clarity for innovation and for competition and for lots of growth in the industry, instead of actually putting a lot of regulatory control around it, which is what I think we harken back to the early days of the web, that's essentially what the government did then. It restricted itself from actually creating all of these, regulations around how the web was going to develop. And when you think about a decentralized network, and particularly those that are focused on the permissionless and very similar to the web architecture, that's a public good. And very much in the same way that we are used to now thinking of the internet. When I was at Mozilla, we talked about it as it's not just a public good, it's a public right for us to have access. And so it's just an interesting, and that's what I think the Token Taxonomy Act is really trying to do.
Yeah, it basically says, look, no matter, if you get it right, if we get the definition on security right, no matter how badly the SEC wants to come and deem you a security, if you meet this criteria, they can't. So then you can have certainty about your product. On the other side, if you can't meet that bar, well, then either change your product, or your path to launching is through the SEC.
I'm gonna try and keep recording. I'm going through some kind of a tunnel.
That we might see a new Bretton Woods. What do you make of it, and what would it look like?
So I think that we're leaning towards a central bank digital currency world. I first created a video in 2016 saying that central bank digital currencies would be used as a new mechanism to bail out bankrupt banks, and central banks would wage war on banks. And so the IMF recently made an announcement, and I created some commentary going through trying to translate what the IMF is saying into everyday language so people could understand it. But the IMF is calling for Bretton Woods 2, and it totally got drowned in the election and pandemic, as you said in the intro, because it's a really, really significant event. And that is that the IMF is a very socialist organization that has tried on several occasions since 1944 to inflict a global currency on the world, since John Maynard Keynes tried to introduce the Bancor, and we ended up with the US dollar debt-backed standard instead. And the IMF is getting ready now that all central bank balance sheets are completely out of control. Governments are entering globally, we're in $250 trillion of global debt. And I think that the next stage after this election, after this health crisis, is banks' balance sheets being exposed for what they actually are. And so the IMF is the perfect type of organization that would like to be involved in negotiating a new monetary system and putting their central bank digital currency at the center of that in order to really put forward what they tried to achieve with special drawing rights, but didn't quite get as far as they wanted to go.
It's a star. I must have gone through a wormhole. It's Vega.
Properly signed, you can't send money you don't have. Those things are all not a problem. The problem is if, let's say, Alice has one XRP or one Bitcoin or $1, we want her to be able to send that to Bill if that's what she wants to do, and we want her to be able to send that to Charlie if that's what she wants to do. But if she can do both, we have a huge problem. So somehow, even though both transactions are valid, we have to agree on which one of them we're going to put first so that we can agree that the second one is invalid.
I need another wormhole now! I had no idea. A series of them! They're alive. This one's some kind of a transit system! The subway! Okay.
We don't have a central authority. Bitcoin uses proof of work, Ripple doesn't. The XRP ledger uses a distributed agreement protocol, which is essentially just a way of everybody to say, hey, I saw this transaction first. And if you have a supermajority of agreement on that and no way to renege on that agreement, that is sufficient to order the transaction.
It's a triple, no, quadruple system. It's beautiful. They're alive.
That we realized very quickly when we started to experiment with consensus and see what it was capable of doing is we saw that it had several advantages over proof of work. And some of them are fairly obvious, that you don't need to spend millions of dollars just to keep the blockchain secure. You don't need to suck money out of the ecosystem to send to power companies. But there was another one that's a little bit less obvious, which is that you don't have a dictator who gets to choose what's in each block. Each block is, or its equivalent, each ledger, is determined by a consensus of participants. So there is no single party that gets to determine each block. That's what makes possible some of the features that the Ripple ledger has, like the decentralized exchange, the arbitrary assets. Those things require a system that has inherent fairness rather than people who get to decide the outcomes.
is the International Space Station flying over Kennedy Space Center.
Crew 1 for all.
Crew Dragon poised to go catch it. 20 seconds till liftoff.
Minus 15 seconds. Falcon 9 is configured for flight. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Stay.